Hello dear students, welcome to Pen and Paper Chemistry. As the name indicates, in order to be able to understand and relate to what we are going to do, please keep a pen and paper handy. If you want, you can even make a separate notebook because whatever we do on this channel will become your notes. So let's get started with the topic of the day, and we are starting with the properties of alkenes, and this is part 1 of the video in the series of videos on this topic. What are alkenes? Alkenes are compounds which have double bond between the two carbon atoms, right? C double bond C. That means these are unsaturated compounds. Unsaturated means hungry, they have a desire for more, they are not happy, they are not satisfied. The rest of the bonds or the rest of the atoms could be carbon or hydrogen. Here I have drawn the simplest alkene, the name of which according to the IUPAC system is ethene. Eth comes from the two carbon atoms and ene from the double bond. It is also called ethylene in the common system, and this group of compounds that we are talking about, alkenes, is in general called as olefins. Olefins means oil forming. Why? Because alkenes have a tendency to react with halogens. So, alkenes plus halogens give us oily products, and that is why they were generally classified as olefins. Now, before we go on to understand the properties of alkenes, we need to understand the structure of this double bond in case you do not have clarity on the sigma and the pi bond. I will touch base on this, although there is a separate video covering sp2 hybridization on the channel. In order to understand the sigma and pi bond, I'll touch base on the basic concept that you need to remember. When you're talking about sigma bond, sigma is a head-on overlap wherein the two orbitals they approach like this, like two arrows approaching each other face to face, right? So, if you notice there is only one lobe overlapping in the case of when we are talking about the p orbital, right? Whereas pi bond is kind of a sideways overlap. So, here one pi bond means both the lobes of the p orbital have to overlap in order to form a pi bond. Now, let me start with the basic concept. Carbon atomic number 6, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2px1, 2py1 and pz is vacant. This is the ground state electronic configuration. Carbon atomic number 6, excited state. What is the configuration? What difference do you notice over here? Perfect. One s electron has moved into pz1. Now we introduce the concept of hybridization, because in the case of alkenes what is there is, here all the atomic orbitals which are participating in bond formation are of equivalent energy. This is explained in terms of hybridization. Again, I repeat, I am not covering this in detail. Please visit the video on hybridization sp2 in order to understand this in a better way. Now, here 2s and 2p, one s orbital and two p orbitals come together and they form something of an intermediate. So, one s and two p orbitals coming together to form new type of orbitals, and those new orbitals are called as hybrid orbitals. Just like you know about the term hybrid, a combination of different things, right? So, different breeds. What name is given to these hybrid orbitals? It is sp2, because we are involving one s and 2 electrons from the p, or 2 orbitals of the p. So, sp2 hybrid orbitals are formed. And how many of such orbitals will be formed? Again, 1 here and 2 here. 2 plus 1 makes it 3. So, there are 3 sp2 hybrid orbitals. Question: why are we not including the last one? You will see as we advance in the video. Now, these 3 sp2 hybrid orbitals are oriented maximum distance apart from each other, giving us 120 degrees spread. So, let me shade them so for that we have more clarity. Each orbital has one unpaired electron. Now, similarly, there is another carbon over here which has similar configurations. So, carbon, sp2 hybrid orbital, sp2 hybrid orbital, sp2 hybrid orbital. Again, for clarity, I have put it in yellow color. So, again each one of them has unpaired electron, right. If you are clear with the concept of hybridization, you can move a little ahead so that you can go ahead with the properties, the electrophilic addition reactions. Now, what happens is both these carbon atoms, they approach each other. Hello, how are you? Oh yes, you have an unpaired electron, even me too. Why don't we make friends? So, probably we will have friendship for these friends for these 2 electrons. Good idea, why not? So, look at that, they have struck a friendship over here. Now, the other electrons, the other unpaired electrons, they start making a noise. What about us? What about us? We are unpaired still, we don't have any friends, we are single. Okay, we call in hydrogen. And it says, okay, even I have an unpaired electron, let's be friends. It's a win-win situation for both of us. And there we have bonds forming. What type of bonds are these? Can you tell me? Yes, these are all sigma bonds. So, sigma bond, and the circle ones are hydrogen. Why have I drawn the circle ones as hydrogen? Because in the case of hydrogen, very good, it's 1s, 1 as the electronic configuration, and s orbital is spherical in shape. So, we have how many sigma bonds over here? Very good, there are 5 sigma bonds. Now, if you notice, carbon is still not satisfied because it has got 1 electron, but there are no more hydrogen available. Oh, you don't see that unpaired electron? There it is, you see, we left 1 p orbital unhybridized. That's why I told you we will see further ahead. So, here we have unhybridized p orbital in both the cases with 1 electron each, but there is no more hydrogen available. So, what do? Sad, right? These 2 electrons, the sad situation. Moreover, the valency of carbon. So, here the electrons are not satisfied. So, even these carbons will be restless. They are feeling sorry for them. Okay, let's strike a friendship at another level. And so, they go on to form a bond like this. Here doesn't mean that these are 2 bonds. It's 1 bond, and that bond is known as pi bond. The only thing is pi bond involves overlap of 2 orbitals in such a way that both the lobes overlap. Only 1 lobe overlapping, as we did in the case of sigma, will not suffice, and this becomes a stronger friendship. If the bond has to break, it is this pi 1 which will be sacrificed first. Why? Why do you think pi will be sacrificed first? Why did I say that? Pi bond means the electron cloud is distributed above and below the internuclear axis. So it is like you have a house and there is the boundary of the house. So this is like the boundary. So what happens is, if there is anything, any species which wants electrons, it will come and attack the boundary first. So the electron cloud over here, it is present in above and below the internuclear axis, because of which it becomes very susceptible to attack by species which have positive charge on them. And such species which have positive charge on them are electron loving, right? And what is the word that we use for loving in chemistry? P-H-I-L-E. So this gives us a word called as electrophile, right? So electrophiles are species which are short of electrons or which have positive charge on them. Mind you, they can also be neutral, but then in that case they will be lacking, their octet may not be complete, they are still hungry for more electrons. So remember, whenever we are talking about double bond, one will be sigma, one will be pi. If we are talking about triple bond between two atoms, one will be sigma, two will be pi. You cannot form more than one sigma bond between any two atoms. Can you think of a reason why? Think about the logic behind it. So now when we've got this carbon-carbon double bond, due to the presence of the pi electron cloud, this becomes more susceptible to attack by a species which is lacking in electrons. Now this is how it is going to be. But this does not end here, because there is a nucleophile as well which is involved. So what happens over here is, the pi electron cloud, it gets attached to the electrophile. So carbon over here, what will happen is E positive, it's bonding with the carbon atoms, which, what do we show it as is? We say it is carbon, carbon here, and E positive becomes attached over here, or we will have carbon, carbon, E positive become attached at the second carbon. You may think that both these structures are same, but the relevance of this becomes more when we start adding alkyl groups or more carbon atoms to it. Now once the electrophile has got attached to it, its hunger is satisfied. That means it no longer has the positive charge on it. So where does the positive charge go? Obviously this electron, this carbon which was earlier getting electrons from the first carbon, is now short of electrons, because this carbon has decided to break the friendship and start giving the electrons to the electrophile. Or we could have E positive. Now because we have an intermediate carbocation, right, a carbon species where the carbon carries a positive charge, a carbocation, a carbon with a cut. Easy. So now it becomes susceptible to attack by a nucleophile. Nucleophile is nucleus loving. That means something which has affinity for positive charge. So the nucleophile can attack here, or the nucleophile can attack at the first carbon, depending upon what is the intermediate. We shall be talking about this intermediate further on. So if you notice in this mechanism, what is happening is, the electrophile attacks the double bond first, correct? That is why these type of reactions are known as, what are they known as? First of all, these are addition reactions because the double bond is changing into single bond. And what type of addition reactions they are? Because the first attack is taking place by an electrophile. These are called electrophilic addition reactions. And amongst the properties of alkenes, these are the most important set of reactions undergone by alkenes. The second category of reactions we will be talking about are oxidation reactions. And of course, the third one, substitution. But do alkenes undergo substitution reactions easily? No, they don't undergo substitution reactions easily. What type of compounds undergo substitution reactions? Yes, we did it, alkanes, because there is no scope of addition reactions in the case of alkanes. It can't add, the valencies of carbon are satisfied. So, if there is a stronger reagent, it will come and start pushing out the atoms, and that is what we did in the properties of alkanes. So, would you like to know about the substitution reactions first or the electrophilic reactions? Let's see. So, I thought let me just build on what you already know from alkanes. Substitution reactions, when one atom or group is replaced by another atom or group. And where do substitution reactions take place usually? Where did you see? You saw that substitution reactions were taking place in the case of alkanes, where the valencies of carbon are completely satisfied. It's a saturated carbon, right? Not every time, but in this case where we are talking about now. So, we will need a carbon which has hydrogen atoms, but at the same time it is attached to doubly bonded carbon. This is called as the alpha carbon. So, here this will be alpha carbon, and these are known as, yes, the allyl group. So, substitution will take place with chlorine and or bromine, but a very, very important condition that you have to remember is that the concentration of these is very low. The temperature is also very high, and you are taking all the reactants in the gas phase, right? The hydrogen of the alkyl group, right? You be careful about which hydrogen you are replacing, because we are talking about substitution reactions. So, CH2, why 2? Because one hydrogen is replaced by chlorine or bromine, whatever you are taking in the reaction mixture. CH double bond CH2 plus, of course, HCl. The hydrogen of the alkyl group or the carbon attached to the doubly bonded carbon, also called as the alpha carbon at the or the allylic position, this gets replaced and we get the product. Question for you. Please write down the IUPAC name of this compound. If you are not sure, please visit the IUPAC nomenclature video on the channel. Ready to go ahead? Electrophilic addition. As I said, electrophile addition takes place in the first step, that is why electrophilic addition. But of course, we need to add across the double bond. So if something gets added across the double bond means addition of an atom or group takes place on both the carbon atoms which are participating in double bond formation. So what do we have over here is carbon X single bond carbon Y, as simple as that. So now further on, all the reactions which we are doing as electrophilic addition reactions, this is what you have to do, as simple as that. So if I say I'll give you reaction with hydrogen, so just take H, add hydrogen to carbon, add hydrogen to carbon, change the double bond to single bond, and you have the addition product. The first reaction that I am talking about over here is halogenation. What do you mean by halogenation? What are halogens? Halogens are compounds. Yes. Are they compounds? No, these are elements. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, you have a separate column in the periodic table for halogens. Just now I said that if you take chlorine or bromine in low concentration, 400 degrees Celsius gas phase, you get the substituted product. You want to know why we take the low concentration? Because if we take high concentration of these, the reaction that takes place is called halogenation, addition of halogen across the double bond. So C double bond C, let me represent the halogen as XX. When addition of a halogen takes place across the double bond, an addition product is formed, that is dihalide is formed, and this reaction is known as halogenation, right? And these type of dihalides are actually called as vicinal. Vicinal comes from the word vicinity, in close proximity of each other, neighbors, next door neighbors, vicinity. So that is why they are called as vicinal dihalides. So starting with an alkene, I have written RCH double bond CH2. You can do the reaction with any alkene. You can even start with CH2 double bond CH2 if that is the compound in your syllabus. I have tried to cover general study. You can customize it according to your curriculum. So the different halogens that I am taking up over here is fluorine, reaction with fluorine, reaction with chlorine, notice over here, inert solvent. Reaction with bromine, inert solvent. Reaction with iodine, again an inert solvent. So just add. Interestingly, we will not carry out the reaction with fluorine because we noticed in the case of alkanes also, remember, the reaction gets explosive. So we do not usually carry out this reaction. Let's do the reaction with chlorine. R CH Cl single bond CH2 Cl. It's a dihalide. Now you can try writing the reaction. Let's say you can take the example of propene. So CH3 CH double bond CH2, add chlorine across the double bond in an inert solvent. Oh yes, you got it faster than me. Very good. So you have CH3Cl single bond. Don't forget the single bond, CH2Cl. So you can name this compound 1, 2, 3, correct? 1,2-dichloropropane. Is it right? Can you check and let me know whether I've got this right or not? Similarly, the reaction can also be written CH3CH double bond CH2 plus bromine. You know, you have done this you may do this reaction when you start the practicals in the laboratory. bromine adds across the double bond. So, if you take bromine and carbon disulfide, maybe that's the common inert solvent we use, the solution is actually orangish in color, reddish brown you can say. A dihalide is formed, CH3 CHBr, single bond CH2Br, right. This product that we have got is colorless. So, this reaction can be used to test for the presence of double bond, that is test for unsaturation. There is another one we are going to do. So, now you know why the conditions are very, very important in organic chemistry. When we reacted the same propene with chlorine or bromine in low concentration, high temperature, we got a substituted product. But when we carry out the same reaction, taking chlorine or bromine dissolved in an inert solvent, we are not saying that we have taken low concentration of this. So, basically the reaction is taking place with them and the product that we are getting is a vicinal dihalide. What about iodine? Can you recall what happens for iodine in the case of alkanes? When you were reacting alkanes with iodine, the reaction wouldn't go forward, right? Why? Yes, because it's a reversible reaction. The same thing is observed in the case of alkenes as well. So, technically it should form RCHI single bond CH2I, but oh no, I don't want to be in this state, I want to go back. So, this is a reversible reaction, with the result this becomes a little unstable compound. So, our easy recall is the reaction with chlorine and bromine. Have you noted this down? Are you looking for the flow charts that I gave you? Don't worry, they are also coming on their way. The next electrophilic reaction, actually you've already done it. I will write the word and immediately tell me, what should I write? Hydro, very good. It's hydrogenation, or we can also call it reduction. Hydrogenation is its specific name, addition of hydrogen to unsaturated compounds in the presence of catalyst and temperature depending on the catalyst. So, R CH double bond CH2, or if it is specifically the study of ethene in your syllabus, you can just write the reaction with ethene here. So, add hydrogen across the double bond plus HH. Do you remember the reaction conditions we did in the topic of alkanes? Platinum or palladium at room temperature, and if you are using nickel, then it is at 570 Kelvin. They facilitate this reaction. So, what will be the product? RCH2, so hydrogen here, RCH2, single bond CH3. So, what do they form? Very good, they give us alkanes, correct? Can you tell me the product here? Please write the reaction conditions. The product over here would be, very good, it will be ethane, RCH3. So, we will have here CH3 single bond CH3. You can also write it as C2H6, there is nothing wrong with it. Electrophilic addition reactions are not yet over. So, here I have for you the first part of the sheet. In this video, we have already spoken about hydrogenation and we have also spoken about halogenation. Yes, substitution is not shown over here because that's the last part of this flow chart. Stay tuned with me as we continue with electrophilic addition reactions for alkenes. Take a break, drink some water, come back and join me in part 2.